A knock at the door, a friendly smile, a warning about a dangerous problem with your roof, your wiring, your foundation. Something urgent, something expensive, something that just can't wait. That's how countless home improvement scams begin. A simple conversation that spirals into disappearing deposits, half-finished jobs, and stories that change every time you ask a question. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the chaos behind these schemes, the fake contractors, the pressure tactics, the vanishing acts, and the fear-based manipulation that traps seniors in costly repairs they never needed. Welcome to Fraud on the Front Porch, and the truth about fraud starts now. Hello, folks, and thanks for joining, listening, or watching. Today's episode is Fake Contractors, Fraudsters drawing up the plays that look legit. And of course, with me, as always, is my fellow fraud furrier, Sean, who's going to help us better understand how these fake contractor formations form. Boy, that's a lot of F's.
Tony, these scammers aren't contractors, they're contractors. Get it? They build nothing but trouble. They sit on a throne of lies. It's just all bad all the way around.
I'd say truth, as my kids like to say. Today, we're going to be diving into those home improvement scams, the urgent fix-it scams, the disappearing deposits, shifting repair pitches, and the emotional pressures that trap seniors. All they want is just to get something fixed.
Yep.
Whether they know it's broken or not.
And we'll also show how scammers can exploit that trust you might have in them. They exploit routine maintenance, and they utilize fear to get inside your home, get inside your wallet, and I'm ready to go with my numbers.
Awesome. Love it. Unleash the hounds.
Tony, when we talk about these home improvement scams, the numbers are staggering and horrible, and they're actually getting worse every year. The big picture is seniors are estimated to lose over $1.3 billion annually to contractor and home repair scams. And of course, that's just what's reported. It's actually estimated that the real number is closer to $3 billion because some seniors never come forward.
Yeah, not surprising. Same old story. Shame and embarrassment.
Yep. And the average loss is around $8,900. But for homeowners over the age of 75, that number jumps to over $12,000. And get this, 42% of all contractor scams begin with a door-to-door pitch.
Yeah, 42%. That's not surprising. Half these scams literally start out with somebody walking up to your door. I got a lot of people walking up to my door, and you could probably do a whole episode on just how to handle these kinds of encounters.
Yes, we could. And it actually gets worse. Here's some more numbers. 1 out of 3 seniors has been approached by a fraudulent contractor in the last 2 years. 68% of victims say the scammer created a sense of urgency. Things like, hey, your roof is going to collapse. Your wiring is a fire hazard. If you don't fix this today, it's going to cost triple next week. And the stat that really hits home is seniors living alone are 70% more likely to fall for a home repair scam. Scammers know it. They target neighborhoods with older populations, especially those where seniors own their home and maintain their own homes. And our last number, which I always say is our most horrible number, only 12% of seniors, it's reported, are reporting this contractor fraud. The rest apparently are staying silent. They feel ashamed, think nothing can be done. But fake contractor websites have increased 300% in the last 3 years. So scammers are now using stock photos and stolen license numbers, which we'll talk about, fake reviews, AI-generated business descriptions, just to fill in the blanks there.
Yeah. I'm homing in on that website stat. The websites don't mean anything anymore, and it's a total wake-up call for all of us.
Yep, it is. And another stat, 55% of seniors who were scammed say the contractor changed their story multiple times. So there's always a new problem. There's always a new emergency. There's always a new fee. 1 in 5 seniors who paid a deposit never even saw that contractor again. And another horrible stat, more than half of these surveyed, of these senior victims, say the experience has made them afraid to hire anyone ever again. So now, on top of all that stolen money, we're delaying repairs, real maintenance that needs to happen to keep your home in repair, and we're avoiding those now because we don't want to get scammed again. So it really is just a cascading waterfall of problems that follow that.
I can't imagine a worse feeling than not feeling physically safe in your own home. Like it's either going
Yep.
to catch fire, physically collapse, or something's going to blow up or something like that. I mean, I know there are people out there that feel unsafe for a variety of reasons, but man, what a horrible way to live. It's almost like paranoia that they really are coming to get you, or at least your wallet.
Yep.
All right, let's shine a little bit more light on some of the tactics that we use. I think the harder it becomes for scammers to operate in these shadows, the better off folks are going to be. We've got some home improvement scams we can talk about that we've done through our research. I'm going to start us off. There's a couple I'm going to talk about that are actually a little germane to me. I have some of these things actually going on right now. The first story I want to share is the one, the roof that didn't exist. $6,200 loss, fake
Oh,
storm damage. I actually, no joke, just got a phone call 45 minutes ago from
wow.
somebody who was trying to sell me roof inspection services
Oh my
from
gosh.
a recent storm. Now, we had a storm. I said I wasn't interested. They pushed.
Yeah.
I said, I'm trying to be polite, and they hung up on me. So that was pretty funny. It didn't get bad, but I said, I'm trying to be polite, but I'm not interested. And they hung up on me. So I was like, good, that was smart for them. So, but then I thought about the AI cloning and I'm like, oh boy, did I say too much?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So fake storm damage, inspection, urgent repair, pitch. Real roofer came along, found no damage.
Ugh.
Unbelievable. Scammer vanished, police notified. Uh, and then ironically, I'm also going through a legitimate roof repair with a contractor, and I have put them through all sorts of haggling back and forth just to ensure they were legitimate, right? I wasn't
Yeah.
as concerned about how much they were charging because I have a general understanding of how much roofs should cost, but general understanding of, hey, are you guys even real?
Yeah.
Like, is my research going to bear itself out? And so I did a lot of independent reading outside of anything they were telling me. And it's so far, the service has been phenomenal, but they're out of state. So um, can't use
Well,
them here in my house.
I mean, that's really good, and we'll talk about that a little later on and how to verify that and how to make sure you're getting the work done that you're paying for. So that's a great example, Tony. I've got a couple stories. First one is the deposit in the dash. This senior lost $4,500. So a contractor took a deposit for a deck repair, and of course, never returned. And they tried contacting this person. The
Mm,
phone was disconnected. Research into the business showed it was never registered, and they filed a case with the state licensing board, which is a great approach, um, but it's unknown if they ever got their money back.
yeah.
I have another story, the expanding repair. So we talked about this. This senior lost, unfortunately, $11,000. So this starts with a repair. They're maybe doing everything the right way, starting to get quotes on a repair on the home. And this person comes in with a really low ball quote, way under everybody else. And then they win the job, they come in and immediately start upselling. Here's some more things that need to happen. Every time this contractor showed up, there was a new problem to fix. And, more and more fees are piling on. So now that lowball quote isn't always looking so good, but you're vested because you've already started the repair with them. And luckily, this person had a neighbor who overheard some of this and ended up warning the senior. So the good outcome there is the work was stopped, and the senior ended up hiring a licensed inspector to take care of the rest of the work.
Awesome. Love the neighbor angle.
Yes.
It's a good theme. Good theme. It's kind of like the family theme, the trust circle, right? We talk about the trust circle a
Yeah.
lot.
Hmm.
Um, I chose this next story because this also is germane to something actually going on in my life right now. I recently had a HVAC repair, actually HVAC replacement, and it's a contractor I've been working with for 5 years, and of course needed to vet him out. In this situation, this was a half-done HVAC job where the loss was $3,900. Contractor removed the old unit, but he
Oh,
demanded more money mid-job,
horrible.
and now you're stuck with a unit.
Right.
I mean, you're basically held captive. In this case, the senior refused. They said, "No, you're not gonna hold us hostage."
Good for them.
Contractor abandoned the site, so they were out $3,900. Could have been out a lot more
Right. Right.
because that kind of person, no doubt, would put in a unit that's probably not gonna work very well.
Yeah.
Now, with my HVAC guy, when he was putting in my new unit, very expensive, by the way, he and I had a conversation because there were some variables that he could not completely figure out before the work started. And so we came up with a range. And I said, okay, what's my range? And he basically let me know that nothing would move up or down in the range above $500. And I said, okay, if you can guarantee me that whatever is more than $500 is going to be covered by you, that's the window for
Yeah.
flexibility we have so that you don't have to come back and quote, demand more money mid job. And he said, yes. And we did it and it worked out great. And, so just a little tactic for how to maybe talk to some of these contractors. Make sure you nail down an acceptable range that is acceptable to you, and then, go forward from there. In
Yeah. I
this
think.
particular case, I'm sorry, go ahead. I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
tell you, in this particular case, they had to call in another HVAC company who completed the job and reported the scam.
Yeah.
Nobody should remove your unit without another unit in place, or at least a contract for another unit in place, and I think you're gonna talk a little bit more
Well,
about
yeah, you're
maybe
you're
some of
hitting
this
on some
missing
really
paperwork.
important topics here, and one of them is, a lot of this is specialized work.
Yeah,
It takes, you know, tradesmen licensing to work on HVAC systems and electrical systems and plumbing systems, and some of that
right.
stuff, when they're small jobs, maybe you can do on your own, but when you are talking about entire houses and the amount of work that accompanies that, it's scary, especially if you're a senior, to try to tackle some of that on your own. And you really are relying on people who say they're specialized in those fields. And
Yeah,
that's part of what the scammers know, is that this is complicated work,
yeah.
and they know you're not going to be able to tackle it on your own. And sometimes you won't even know what they're talking about in there. That's part of their angle.
Yeah, in my state, you have to be licensed to put in a gas water heater.
Sure. Yeah.
So if this HVAC guy just claims they're licensed, all of a sudden you've got some credibility that shouldn't have, because we don't really know if they're licensed or not. You know, how often do people check the license number? Right. I think we'll talk a little bit more about
We
that
will talk
later.
about that for sure.
Let's Yeah. So while we're on the topic, let's get down to some of the nuts and bolts of some of these scams, and maybe talk about some of the tactics, some of the methodologies, the fake contractors will use, even even real contractors who operate with unscrupulous practices, right? Because there are real organizations out there that are operating unscrupulously. I would consider that just as much a scam as somebody who intended to scam you from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah. I mean, your roofing phone call is a great example. I mean, they always start with the urgency and fear. So maybe they say,
Mm,
"Hey, I drove through your neighborhood today. I noticed you and some of your neighbors' roofs have XYZ damage. You're going to need to get that replaced. It's probably going to start leaking." And then so you get kind of worried. Again, that's specialized work. Most seniors hopefully aren't getting up on their roof to inspect damage. But
Not me.
it's almost the opposite of what we talked about. We talked about winning a fake lottery in a previous episode, Tony. This is like winning the lottery in reverse, which is bad things are about to happen to you unless you take this
Yeah,
deal with me. So again, urgency there, the fear, your roof's going to start leaking, your electrical system's going to light your house on fire. That's some of their tactics. Again, one of our stories is deposit theft. So they take your money up front. Hey, I
true.
need this amount to get started, and you never hear from them again. Or sometimes they show up and say it's going to cost you $100, and next thing you know, you're writing them a check for $1,000 because they're telling you, oh yeah, more and more stuff. They're shifting their story. There's all kinds of fake repairs that they're coming up with. And again, one of the big ones, I want to repeat this, is those targeted repairs, roofs, HVAC systems, electrical, gutters, things they know take specialized
Yeah.
knowledge to work on sometimes. And there's a fear of kind of working on those systems on your own. And that that's their angle. That's where they're targeting, just like your HVAC story you had, which is, I know if I rip out this furnace and walk away, they're going to be, stuck up the river without an oar or whatever the saying is. I'd probably mess that up, but
SOL.
yeah, without a paddle. And they know that. And they say, well, I'm going to get another $5,000 out of this person just to finish the job because I'm holding them over a barrel. So
Yeah.
again, those are unfortunately, real world tactics that these scammers are using.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks, don't really understand, like, the money aspect of things, how scammers go about the money. I mean, I know that they literally size a house up from the curb.
Yeah.
I've had contractors tell me,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I knew when I drove by your house or, when I drove into that neighborhood, I know people will pay more or there's more of urgency or there's more, what do they call it? Nuisance? Get rid of the problem, pay that
Yeah.
they can." So, a furnace in one house now, it might be a more expensive furnace, yeah, but just because you have more money, scammers are gonna target you more as well. When I grew up, back in the '70s, I lived in a pretty affluent neighborhood, and people would, I would talk to contractors when I got older about how when they found out the zip code, price immediately went up.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to tell people I lived in the next town over because we were pretty close to that town. So I would just say I lived in this town instead of the town I grew up in, and then um, people would quote me different prices when I was on the
Really?
phone, right? When I was
Yeah.
trying to help my mom get things fixed around the house after I'd moved out. Just crazy. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of people who just want to take advantage of other people.
Yeah. And these fraudsters are out pounding the pavement and looking around and driving around. I mean, that's where they're finding their next target. If they
Yeah.
drive past your house, see peeling paint, see an older roof, or maybe your driveway's got some cracks in it, um, they're going to assume the homeowner's probably overwhelmed or unsure of what's normal wear and tear. And if they see a house in an affluent area, like you mentioned, maybe the price doubles. Maybe they assume the homeowner has more equity in their house and, hey, I'm going to charge them more. And
Yeah.
so they are adjusting those scams and giving higher quotes and coming up with bigger fake emergencies.
Yeah, they think nice house, nice neighborhood, older homeowner, jackpot.
Jackpot.
I
Yeah,
don't think they realize a lot of us are very cheap. We don't like to spend money.
right.
We saved our money. It's why we have houses like this.
Exactly. Exactly. But they're still gonna try. I get a couple more um tactics here that might actually surprise you, Tony. One of them is, or maybe it doesn't surprise you, they check social media. If you're a senior and you're posting about the vacation you just went on with all of your grandkids, or a new car you've got, or your grandkids' graduation, they're gonna assume you've got some financial stability and maybe do have that extra money to spend on a fake repair.
Yeah, we've talked about this. They also go after obituaries. So
Yep.
somebody might post about a widow or living alone. Please do not do that. That is just another vulnerability for someone unscrupulous is going to exploit against you.
That jumps right into the next one I wanted to talk about. Seniors who live alone are targeted more aggressively, Tony, because they know if they come up with an idea, there's no second opinion. There's nobody they're going to bounce that idea off of. So there's no one to collaborate with them to say, "Well, hold on, that doesn't sound right." It's an easier sell for the scammer if they know you're just one person and you're not going to talk to anybody else about it.
Yeah, there's no one else to notice the unmarked truck in the driveway.
Right. Um, Here's my last surprising tactic. They also watch for, if if you're a senior and you mow your own lawn, cleaning your own gutters, doing small repairs when they go by, you might assume a scammer would move on, Tony, because they're like, well, they're doing their own maintenance. They're not gonna hire us. But
Yeah.
that actually makes you more vulnerable, because they're assuming you don't actually hire professionals to work on your home and you don't know what the cost of something would be. So they can make up a price on the spot for your fake urgent repair. And they say, well, this person maintains their house. They have no idea what it costs. Hey, you've got damaged gutters. That's a $16,000 job. I can get it done next Tuesday. That's a discount for you because I can see you out here working. They can just throw a price at you. So if they see
Yeah.
you out maintaining your own home, it might make you more of a target.
That is wild.
It is.
I would have thought just the opposite. I
I would
I
have
would
too.
think, these folks, like you said earlier, these folks are so self-sufficient. There's nothing I can lend to them. It's just amazing to me how different perspectives people can have on the same topic.
Yeah, it
It's
makes
like you
you
can almost see into any situation what you want to. Great tips,
yeah, it
really
almost
great
makes you
tips.
more approachable almost. You're outside already working on the
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
Now, one thing I do is I will go in and I will go to Google and I will type in how much should XYZ service, describing it as much as I can, cost reasonably for my area. I mean, I
Right.
might do a search like that. And now with AI, excuse me, you can get a playbook all the way back
Yep.
on what you should be expecting.
That's a great tip. That is a great tip, Tony, to just you can do that while the person's standing there. I mean, if they get offended, great, go away. I mean, do the Google search while they're standing there throwing a
Or
price at
just
you.
or just say, "Can you give me a moment, please?"
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's like the police blotter while you're talking to somebody. I gotta look up that license plate. Excuse me, sit right there. I'll be right back. I just pulled you over. Same situation. All right, let's talk props. I've I've been given a few hundred fake business cards along my journey here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can print business cards at home these days. You can put a generic name on it. It doesn't really have to
Mm,
describe too much. Quality Home Services Inc., something like that. And suddenly you look legitimate because you walked up to this person and handed them a business card.
It's funny you say that because what I learned in graduate school, I can't remember much of what I learned in graduate school. One thing I learned, ironically, in a marketing class, was the easiest company in the country to start is a construction company because all
Really?
you need is a pickup truck and a hammer,
Yeah. There you go.
right? Um, but as far as business cards, I don't know why anybody make their own business cards anymore. They're so cheap. I had some made not too long ago. It cost me $5, but maybe I don't want the paper trail. Maybe maybe they want a number that goes right to a burner phone.
Yeah. And you talked about unmarked trucks earlier. I mean, that's another giveaway. A real contractor who pulls in your driveway is going to have a logo on the truck, branding on the truck. They're going to have license plate numbers. I mean, if you've got someone showing up in a plain white van, unmarked pickup trucks, it's so you can't trace them.
Just like the burner phones.
Yeah, and burner phones are their lifeline. I mean, once the scam's done, you get rid of the phone, you get rid of the number.
It's funny, so much of what we talk about is people trying to reach back out for help after they don't know they've been scammed yet. They just think
Yes.
something's wrong, and then the number's gone. They can never reach the individual again, obviously because they got burner phones. But
Well,
I mean, that's our trusting nature. We are a trusting society,
we are.
and
And
unfortunately, some of that has to be reimagined to avoid scams.
yes, and you know,
What else? What else
along
do
with
they
that,
do?
there's fake invoices, of course. They can print an invoice at home that looks official. They can
Okay.
steal another contractor's license number and present it as their own.
Yep.
So if you look up the license online, it's a legitimate contractor, but it's not the same name as the person who's in your driveway. They also use um, high pressure scripts.
Mm,
So you talked
yeah.
about, scammers going to theater school in one of our previous episodes. They talk about, again, this needs to be fixed today. If you wait longer than today, it's going to cost you 3 times as much. Or, and I have a great story about this later, I can give you a discount, but only right now. Only right now can you get the savings on this fix. So they're not diagnosing a problem at your house. They're performing their theater play.
Man.
So, and sometimes they also bring accomplices, Tony. So fake crew members who are riding around in the truck with them, and they get out with them and they just nod and they point and yeah, that is cracked there. Oh yeah, that is a big problem. And it's just to continue to convince you that you've got something wrong with the house.
It really is a play.
Yeah.
So frustrating. Either it's a one person, right, soliloquy scamming you on the driveway, or it's a whole entourage.
Yeah.
Mm.
So think of it like a Broadway play, Tony. That's a great example. So they're going to begin the whole production by fooling you that there's something urgent that needs to be fixed on your house. Then they're going to present themselves as the friendly, helpful expert who just happened to notice the problem.
Mm.
And then they use that pressure of timing and the urgency and maybe even confusion. Again, we're talking about complicated systems inside your house and using that emotional manipulation to push you towards a quick decision. And then, of course, once the money changes hands, they vanish. Exit stage left. See you later.
Good Snagglepuss reference there. You may not remember Snagglepuss.
That's an old one.
Yeah, that's an old one. um, just thinking about this got my blood boiling. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm ready for story time. But as they say, the show must go on, right?
Yep.
All right, let's give this a shot. It's story time. Today we're going to share a story that shows how fast a scammer can turn a quiet afternoon into a crisis, and how easily a homeowner and their trust can get twisted into fear. The foundation crack that wasn't there. It was a warm Saturday morning when Mr. Harold Bennett, age 84, stepped outside to water the azaleas he'd tended for nearly 30 years. His home was his pride, the place he'd raised his kids, celebrated anniversaries, and built a life with his late wife, Margaret. As he turned off the hose, a white pickup truck rolled slowly down the street. No company name, no logo, just a man in a neon vest leaning out the window. "Sir, you might want to take a look at this," the man called out. Harold froze. The man walked up the driveway with the confidence of someone who belonged there. "I'm working on a house around the corner," he said. "Noticed a serious foundation crack on your side wall. Could be dangerous. Mind if I show you?" Harold's heart tightened. Foundation problems. He knew right away those were expensive. Serious. He followed the man around the side of the house. The man, who simply introduced himself as Bill, pointed to a thin hairline mark, the kind of cosmetic settling every older home has. The line had probably been there for years. "There," Bill said gravely. "That's spreading. If we don't reinforce it today, your whole wall could shift. I've seen it happen. Cost triple to fix once it goes." Harold felt his stomach drop. He lived alone. He didn't know much about foundations, just that they mattered and that they got even more expensive if they got worse. Bill sounded so sure, so knowledgeable. "I can get my crew here in an hour," he continued, "but I need a $3,500 deposit to secure materials. Today only. After that, I can't guarantee the price." Harold hesitated. The man leaned in. "Sir, I don't want you getting hurt. If that wall gives, it could take out your living room." In that moment, fear replaced doubt. Harold went inside, wrote a check, and handed it over. The man smiled, too quickly. "Great decision. We'll be back in an hour." He wasn't. Not in an hour, not that day, not ever. By evening, Harold realized the truth. He called the phone number on the business card. It rang to a disconnected line. The truck never returned. The foundation crack, nothing more than a harmless surface line. Harold sat at his kitchen table, the empty driveway staring back at him through the window. He felt foolish, embarrassed, angry at himself for believing a stranger. But here's the part that matters. The next morning, his neighbor Linda stopped by. She'd seen the truck, she'd seen the exchange, and she'd seen the look on Harold's face when the crew never returned. She called the bank, and they froze the check before it cleared. Linda contacted the county inspector, who confirmed the crack was purely cosmetic. She then helped her neighbor file a report with the police and the state licensing board. Within 48 hours, the scammer's vehicle was flagged in a nearby county. Harold didn't lose a penny, but more importantly, he didn't lose his confidence. He didn't lose his independence, and he didn't lose the home he'd worked his whole life to protect, because one neighbor cared enough to step in, and Harold learned that a knock on the door isn't always a helping hand. Sometimes, it's just the start of a scam. Man, does it ever really matter where the help comes from? You might say no, but I'd say yes, because in this case, it came from someone Harold trusted, his neighbor. So good for Harold for having a great relationship with Linda. And I believe it's time to start fighting back.
Yep.
You talked about it earlier. Let's get into it more deeply now. Let's talk about how we verify legitimacy and any rules of the road that we might want to follow.
It's so easy to believe people because you naturally want to believe people because you want to believe they're trying to help you out and that something broken needs to be fixed. But you have to take all that with a grain of salt. So let's break down Harold's story, actually, because there are a lot of great points we can make there. The first step, Tony, is never hire immediately from a door-to-door pitch, that is, I could almost say never hire at all from that. I mean, just politely decline and close the door, you know? You can leave your card here, but you don't. The door-to-door pitch is a huge warning sign. So that's number one. Don't even entertain that. Um, that was Harold's first mistake. And then the second is to ask for a written estimate. If somebody is actually coming and wants to do some work on your home from their company, you're going to get a written estimate, an invoice. They need a paper trail too. They're not going to be able to quote you a verbal price and then collect money and not give you an invoice. So you need to request a written, detailed, itemized estimate right off the bat. Kind of like what you talked about with your HVAC vendor, Tony.
Yeah.
Get that. Even better, get multiple bids. So maybe take that person's bid and say you're getting 2 or 3 more because you want to compare pricing with other people. Because if it's an actual problem, you'll have actual companies that want to help you fix it. And then best of all would be if you can get references. Can you, okay, you fixed these foundation cracks before. Can I call 2 of your past customers? Can I get names of a few people who would speak highly of your work? So all those types of things, the scammers do not want to hear any of that. Let's be honest. They don't want to be pushed back at all on any of those areas.
I love all those. They're all actionable items. They're all things we can all do.
Yeah, immediately, right off the bat. And then when the person goes away, there's so many ways to verify. You can try to confirm their business address by looking it up online. If you see a PO box or a UPS store or an empty lot, they're not a legitimate contractor. You can ask for a certificate of insurance. All of these companies will be insured. And so you want a copy of their insurance statement with a name of an insurer who you can also call to verify legitimacy. I can almost guarantee that all these scammers will not be insured because that would cost them money. And they're not looking to spend any money. They're just looking to steal money. So that would be a huge, huge giveaway. Again, you can look for the website, but we talked about professional websites can be fake these days. You can try to do a lookup of their phone number to see if it's actually listed with a company. That's another giveaway. Again, those are things that only take you a couple minutes, and you can do it when they leave, or you can do it right in front of them.
That's so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing also is avoid those cash payments. We talked about the paper trail, the paperwork. You should be provided an invoice and a receipt, and don't pay in cash. Use a check at the least. Use a credit card for your own paper trail. You can, always reverse that if you've been scammed, if you catch it fast enough. If you are paying them right away, don't pay more than, I'd say like 10 to 30% upfront. I mean, understandably, some of this work does have upfront costs for the contractor doing the work if they were doing legitimate work. And sometimes you do need to pay money at the beginning so they can go get supplies, get the equipment needed to do the repair.
Reasonable.
But
That's
yeah,
reasonable.
a reasonable amount. And you don't want to pay half the cost up front or 2/3 of the cost up front. That's a giveaway that you're in trouble. You're getting into something you shouldn't be. And long term, I think the best long term approach here, Tony, and this is kind of different than some of our other long term approaches, but ask around. You should at some point have a list in the back of your mind of 2 to 3 people that you really trust who do repairs on this same type of thing, or maybe handyman work. I'm one of my good friends is a retired firefighter, and he went into the handyman business, and he does very well because he does great work and he's very well trusted around, and he gets word of mouth referrals. I mean, that's the first person I would go to probably if I heard somebody come up and talk about a repair on my house. I would say, "Hey, I've never even heard of this. Is this something you work for with other people?" And that individual would be able to give me an answer. So if you have a trusted contractor or trusted handyman that you can just run these prices by, that is so valuable. I realize not everybody has that type of resource in their back pocket, but long term, just to have somebody, even with a tiny bit of knowledge in the home repair world, uh, will be so valuable
Mhm.
for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's gold, man. They're all actionable items,
Yeah.
all things we can all do. Thank you for sharing those. I think it'd be pretty easy to put a list together and just use it maybe as a checklist
Yeah.
of sorts, right?
Yeah. Quiz time.
Quiz time. All right, here we go. Today I've got 5 for you.
Okay. Okay.
Thought I had 6, but I think I've got 5. All right, start out easy. A contractor who demands full payment up front is legitimate.
That is false. We just talked about that. You don't want to pay them all that money at the front end of a job.
Exactly. Takes away all your leverage and gives all the leverage to the contractor,
The
as you said.
contractor.
The
Yeah.
con man tractor. Okay, multiple choice. Which is a red flag? A written estimate. B, an unmarked truck. C, a business license.
B, that unmarked vehicle, that rusty white van that's sitting in your driveway with no logos on the side. That is a huge red flag.
Why is it always a white van? That seems like
It must be cheap. They must be
discriminative.
cheaper than any other color.
Discriminating. What?
They must be cheaper than any other color.
They're probably the cheapest. They're the easiest to steal, probably. That's
There you
probably
go.
what it
That
is.
probably is right. Maybe we should do a podcast on auto
We
theft.
should probably do an episode on the stolen white truck and what it's used to do.
Yeah.
Nothing good. I
Nothing good
guarantee you that.
ever.
We're getting into real crimes then, not just scams.
Yes, we would be. Yeah, that'd be a
That
crime
might be a
podcast.
little bit out of our wheelhouse. All right. Number 3. Seniors should always get multiple bids.
That's true, and that's true for everybody, not just seniors.
Yeah. Good answer. I like it. Number 4. Multiple choice. Which website verifies licenses? Netflix, bbb.org, Zillow.
Great
Can't even read it
question.
with a straight face.
Yeah, great question. It's B for BBB.
Which stands
Also,
for?
Better Business Bureau.org.
Thank you. For those
Also,
who
there
weren't
are,
sure.
I mean, whatever state you live in, Tony, will have a state contractor licensing board somewhere that you can reach out
Excellent.
to verify if those
And of
people
course,
are licensed
FTC.
contractors.
The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, will be able to verify as well.
Yep.
Okay, number 5. True, false. A contractor refusing to provide references is a warning sign.
That is true.
Good. Agreed. Good job. All right. So,
Thanks.
like most scams, we know these scams aren't going away. But when it comes to contractor scams, I think the biggest things we need to stress are they're really emotional red flags that go off for all of us, right? It's not always the money thing, because you brought up a really good point earlier about we may not know what something costs.
Right.
So the money may not shock us. What really triggers us are these emotional red flags.
Yeah, and I want to share a story about Leonard, a senior who avoided being scammed in a very common fraud, the cracked driveway. And I have actually heard about this in my local area before, so this one kind of hits home. So this story is the driveway deal that almost cost $9,000. This is a story about how one quick moment of awareness and one very observant son stopped a scam that was seconds away from draining a senior's savings. It happened to Mr. Leonard Hayes, age 78. A retired high school coach, a proud grandfather, and the kind of man who still swept his own driveway every morning. He wasn't looking for repairs, he wasn't expecting visitors, and he was just enjoying a quiet Tuesday. Then a pickup truck rolled up. A man jumped out wearing a reflective vest and holding a clipboard. "Sir, I've got a crew finishing a job down the street," he said. "We've got leftover asphalt, enough to redo your whole driveway. Normally, this is a $9,000 job, but if we use the leftover mix that I have today, I can do it for $2,500. Today only." Leonard blinked. He hadn't planned on repaving anything, but the price sounded so good, almost too good. The man kept talking fast. "Your driveway's cracking? It'll get worse. If you wait, it'll cost triple. But I can take care of it right now. I just need a deposit before the mix cools." Leonard felt that familiar pressure, the urgency, the fear of missing out, the worry that he'd be irresponsible if he didn't act. He went inside to grab his checkbook. That's when his son Mark happened to stop by. Mark saw the truck in the driveway. He saw the man pacing with the clipboard, and something didn't sit right. There was no company name on the truck. There was no logo, no license number. Just a plain white pickup and a guy who looked like he was in a hurry to leave. Mark stepped outside. "Hey, what company are you with?" he asked. The man rattled off a name too quickly and actually spelled it wrong the first time. Mark pulled out his phone and typed it in. Within seconds, the screen filled with scam complaints. Same pitch, same leftover asphalt story, same disappearing act after taking deposits. Mark shook his head no. He turned to his dad. "Dad, stop. This is a scam." Leonard froze with his check in his hand. The scammer, realizing the jig was up, sprinted back to his truck and peeled out of the neighborhood so fast he left tire marks. Leonard stood there shaken, not just by the scam, but by how close he'd come to losing $2,500. But he quickly pulled himself together, and instead of sinking into embarrassment, Leonard did something powerful. He joined a local fraud prevention group for seniors. He shared his story, he learned the red flags, and he became the guy who now warns other neighbors when suspicious trucks roll through the community. So he didn't just avoid a scam, he turned the experience into strength and a beacon of hope for others who might be prey. And that's the lesson. A scammer's greatest weapon is urgency, but a family member's awareness, a quick online search, and a willingness to speak up can shut the whole operation down before a single dollar leaves the account.
Sean, that's exciting. I hope that story creates 50 more Leonards participating in 50 more support groups. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that outcome as a result of what he went through. Some of these support groups we talked about in our last episode, they're getting more and more prevalent, but they're not super easy to join because the last thing we want is a support group being subjected to somebody coming in who might be a scammer, right?
Yeah, and
great story.
I want to add a little bit to that one, as I have seen that before around neighborhoods around me where they'll actually scam the first person. They have a little bit of maybe sealant for a driveway, and they start sealing one person's driveway, and then the scammer moves down the road and starts knocking on doors and pretending the same story. "I've got extra. This is going to be way cheaper for you to do it with us right now because we don't want to haul all this back." And so they will just do a horrible job to multiple driveways in one day if they can just canvass a neighborhood. And what happens is they collect their money right away and they tell you it's going to be this huge discount, and they leave your driveway looking worse.
And
than
then
it
they
was
tell
before.
you that at the next house, they tell you the next house, well, we did your 3 neighbors down
we're
the
right
street.
here. We're working right here. We're going to just do yours, and it's going to cost you half the price of what it would cost you to just buy this from the store. Why wouldn't you take up our deal on it? And they just canvass the neighborhood, And the next day they go to the next neighborhood, you never see them again. And again, your driveway looks terrible and you're out a couple $100.
This is not an exaggeration. Because I have more than one property, I get at least my own home that I live in and with property. I get at least 6 to 8 texts a week.
Oh my gosh.
Inquiring in your neighborhood, looking to do estimates for service XYZ. And then what happens is they cycle back through. So I delete them all, and then I'll get the same next iteration of them like a month later. So these scammers are not just hitting us and moving on. They've got us on a loop. They're checking back every month.
Isn't that
Can I send a crew? Can I send a crew? And as I think you mentioned in a recent episode, they're sending out millions of texts.
Right.
So it's a numbers game.
Right.
They're hitting home with some of them.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Oof. All right, let's head into the home stretch here. After everything we've talked about today, I obviously can see the impact on seniors is enormous, right? It's so, as you said, it's so believable. It's so easy. You want to trust people, but then you've got that fear and that embarrassment, and then the worst part, the home, feeling that the home isn't safe anymore. That breaks my heart that people would feel that way, that their home isn't safe anymore. Any final thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Those contractor scams hit you right where you live, literally. Seniors often feel violated or foolish, and that emotional recovery can take much longer, be much worse than the financial damage in the long run. But seniors need reassurance that being targeted doesn't mean you're slipping. It just means you've got a skilled scammer doing the rounds. So just some final thoughts. Check those trusted sources that we talked about, the FTC you mentioned, the BBB, state licensing boards. Check once or twice a year if you're going to use a contractor. It's kind of like checking your smoke detectors at home. It's a small effort and big protection. But the big piece is to remember to slow down, take that pause, verify everything. Don't let urgency force that decision. I mean, the crack in your foundation isn't going to collapse your house the next day. Yes, that's a serious thing, but the odds are you're not one day away of total collapse. So don't let someone else's urgency force your decision. They want you to panic, and they want you to ignore logic to pay them money immediately. So any amount of skepticism you can show will shut them down fast.
That's a perfect way to end this. Stay aware, stay supported, and stay empowered. Sean, as always, thank you. Until next time.
Thanks, Tony.
Home improvement scams don't just steal money. They steal peace of mind. But with awareness, preparation, and community support, seniors can shut the door on fraud before it ever begins. Whether it's a fake foundation crack, a disappearing deposit, or a too-good-to-be-true offer, every scam has a tell. And every homeowner deserves to know the signs. Stay alert, stay connected, and stay empowered. And always remember to pause, question, and ask for help.